Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy Manny here once again. Welcome back to another WNBA lineup advice video here at DFS Zone. And before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate you drop a like always. And of course, if you have not subscribed to the channel as of yet, please do so down below. And do not forget to turn on those notifications. This way you do not miss any of my new uploads. With that being said, I am going over Sundays. It's actually almost Sunday already. It's about 3 minutes to midnight here in New York time, so I'm doing this kind of late. I figured, hey, you know what, I got some time tomorrow, do a video now. I know it's only a one-game slate. I know some of you that have been following me as of late are probably going to be like, whoa, Manny has never done a one-game slate. They're going to be probably surprised that I even threw out a video. But I figured this is a good video to get you guys prepared, the ones that are new to WNBA, who have become subscribers in my channel over the last month and a half, 2 months of the WNBA season. I did do a couple videos. I did do single game videos during the course of the NBA playoffs. So if you've been with me as far back as April, May, and so on and so forth, you would know more or less what I did. I figured for my WNBA audience, it would be good for me to do something like this now, simply because also the WNBA season is almost wrapping up, and we're going to be seeing these one-game slates quite a bit during the course of the playoffs, and we're going to have, obviously, you're going to get videos from me as well as possible some live shows to discuss them. So I figured this would be a good training for those who don't normally play them, and give you a couple of key tips that I think are important, and of course a couple of strategies that I think you can use. I'm sure a number of these are going to be familiar for those who have been doing it for a while or used to doing this, but there are some of you out there that I know come to the channel to really learn some new stuff and get some insight and get some advice, and I think this is more catered to you guys, so hopefully it does help. So we got Seattle, New York. The first thing I want to discuss is I'm going to give you two tips, very, very important. Okay, the first very important tip is that there's nothing wrong. You see, you have a $40,000 budget. There's nothing wrong with leaving money on the table. A lot of people get into these GPPs and they think they need to use all the money, and it doesn't even matter. Not even on a single game. It could be a 3-game slate, 4-game slate. You don't necessarily have to use all your money. There's nothing wrong with leaving money on the table. In a slate like this, looking at this matchup between Seattle and New York, I see where more than likely I made myself, and I'm going to draw up. I'm going to do some lineups right here in front of you to show you some of the strategies, and you can use those lineups. You can do what you want. It's the same format, same thing I did when I was doing the NBA. But that's tip number one. A lot of people concern themselves with that. Do not concern yourself with that. Find the best possible 5 plays. Okay. Number two, I got a text there. Number two is you have to be different. That's the most important thing here out of this thing. First things first, before I continue and I start giving you strategy, of course, number 2 tip is definitely be different. Okay, and I'm going to show you why I say that and what you need to do to be different. Okay. So the first, most importantly, this whole setup that Fanduel has here now is relatively new as far as MVP, Star, and Pro. This format used to be all utility plays. I played it once or twice, 3 times during the course of the NBA season, especially late in the NBA season, and I did not enjoy it, so I didn't play it anymore. But I do have a few buddies that play DFS, and they have tried doing it. And I remember when it was just utility, I would see people winning, and it was like 100 people, 200 people, sometimes 300 people winning first place because they all had the same lineup. Some of them were very chalky, and obviously if you have that many people with the same lineups and you have no bonus in between for any of the actual positions, you're going to find yourself they're going to have that. So I guess FanDuel realized that. They made a change, and they made the MVP, Star, and Pro, and I think that was an excellent idea. And I did play a few times, and I noticed that people were winning even first place on their own, as well as having, there was minimal people tying for first, or there were maybe 5 people tied for fifth or something like that. So it does work. Okay, so that's the reason why that they made those changes, and I think it's definitely a good way for all of us to make a little bit of money. So going into actually strategies, the best possible strategy is, obviously, first strategy number 1 for me is, when I look at this, I want to definitely get 3 solid core players if I can here in the top 3. I kind of use the same format when I do NASCAR. When I play NASCAR here and there, I focus on getting 3 quality drivers. Well, here's the same thing. 3 quality ball players in this MVP, Star, and Pro spot. And then make multiple lineups if you can, if you could afford to with your bankroll, and basically move those players around from MVP, star, and pro. Just move them around in a couple of spots. All right. Of course, you definitely want to get the same. You want to get some good quality utility players, but I think it starts with a core. That's one strategy you can use. You don't have to use that strategy, but I think it's one that I use and I think is effective, and I think that's a strategy that most people should use. Another strategy is obviously it's a typical strategy that we all use in DFS, especially with team sports. It's stacking. Okay, don't forget to stack. In this particular lineup here, you have 5 plays, so you know you could definitely do 3-2 stack all day, but definitely use the 4-1 stack as well. All right, and that means four players from one team and 1 player from another. Another strategy to use is also, especially in a game like this for later on today, Seattle is a top dog. They're #1 team in the league, 21-7 or whatever the case may be. New York is the opposite. They're 7-20. They have no business being on the court with Seattle. Obviously, they're on there for the schedule. They're going to play for pride. They're going to play hard. They're also playing at home. I think the last time they played at home, the few times they have played at home in matinees, they've actually played fairly well. So don't be surprised. But what I want you to understand is that you definitely should be always thinking about making a stack on the opposite way. You always reverse your stacks. So if you do a 4-1 and a 3-2 stack of Seattle, cover your butt. You have enough in your bankroll to do 2 or 3 more lineups, then make sure your 1 or 2 lineups is backing you up with a 3-2 or 4-1 stack of New York. Okay? It's the best way to, kind of balance out balance yourself out, so to speak. Because if you decide you're just going to go out, Seattle's going to blow these guys away. I'm going to go with 2 or 3 solid players from Seattle and get 1 lower end value play for Seattle and do a 4-1 stack. You can do that. I intend to do it. But I'm also going to intend to also set up a 3-2 and a 4-1 stack to cover my rear end, just in case New York gives Seattle a very good game. Also, if Seattle ends up blowing out New York, your 4-1 Seattle stack might not work for you unless you really are throwing 1 or 2 mid-tier players like a Langhorne or something like that, or maybe Miss Clark, as opposed to going with Sue Bird and Lloyd and Brianna Stewart or Howard, who are the upper echelon girls of the actual team and actually on this slate. So I mean, that's another way to go. Another strategy I like that I actually use, and it was a little effective a few times during the NBA playoffs, is going with the very, very cheap value play at the very bottom, your budget play. In this case, in this slate, the lowest price player is $4,000. So you pick a girl here that has possibly the potential, especially in a blowout situation here. You may target a New York bench player as well as a bench player from Seattle. You can actually use one of those girls as the possible budget play here, put her in one of the utility spots, and that may open the doors for you to get maybe 4 good quality players. Okay, and hopefully those good quality players end up having a tremendously, massively good game. Okay, so that's another strategy that I like to use as well, and I think it's probably one of the better ones you can use, especially in matchups. Depending on matchups, I don't know if it's going to be so good on this one, but we're going to try to apply. I'm going to actually show you right now, and we're going to actually do a couple of lineups showing the different methods. Okay, for those who have not used it, of course, a lot of you are going to be like, yeah, I use those methods, no problem. It's for me to help those that don't have a clue or are not familiar with it or have not used it at all. At least it gives them an idea. Okay. All right, so that's where we at with all that stuff. Going into this game, a couple key notes to remember. Okay, as we look and we start designing a couple of lineups here real quick for you guys. Field goal percentage wise, Seattle #1, 47%. Seattle's also #1 at 3-point shooting in the league. New York is 10th in both categories, and they also are coughing up quite a bit of points to 3-point shooters. New York is almost near the bottom in defending the 3 at 34.8%, so that's almost 35%, and Seattle comes in averaging 36.7% from 3. So obviously, we could definitely target some Seattle 3-pointers there. We got Stewart. We have, of course, Lloyd, Bird, and as well as Miss Clark, all capable of hitting 3s, and so on and so forth, just to give you some ideas. Also, assist totals. Both teams are pretty good at passing the ball. Seattle is #1 in the league. New York comes in #4, so something to consider there as well. But I really like the factors here in this game that if the game stays at least fairly close, I definitely like the backcourt of Seattle. So I could see myself doing a lineup right away, just throwing in there maybe Sue Bird or Jewel Lloyd. But again, we're just going to play around with it right now, use some of the strategies just to give you a couple ideas. I'm not even certain if I'm going to actually play any lineups tomorrow, but if I see something that I like here right now, I probably will, lock in before I go to bed and get some lineups in. All right, guys, but I just wanted to really give you guys some insight and some help here and figure out. So we're going to go and we're going to throw a couple of lineups together, and we're going to actually, if we have to go back and look at some statistics, I have all the statistics. These teams have played each other before, and Seattle did win game one. And during the first game, two key notes, man. Two key people played for New York that are not playing for them now, so it even makes it even more difficult for New York. The last time they played each other, they did play New York. Miss Prince as well as Miss Zealous both played in that game and both started. They didn't have great games, but they were both in those games. And now, as you guys know, those girls are out. They're not going to be playing later on today. So we're definitely going to start targeting. We could target Boyd. We could target, obviously, Miss Rogers as well as Miss Hartley, and maybe even Kia Nurse. So there's some guards there that we can definitely target as far as New York is concerned. All right, but let's go through it. Let's use some of the strategies. So let's see if we can figure out going with 3 core players. All right, and the 3 core players can be from any team. It could be from the same team, or it could be from both teams. So we know New York's top player is Tina Charles. Now, granted, Tina Charles, the first time they played each other, she did not play that well. She only put up at 18.6 fantasy points in 32 minutes against Seattle, so she definitely had a rough game. Not to say that she's going to have another one again today. Chances are she has 45, 50-point upside. She's more steady at that 35, 40 range, so it's a possibility she can get to that level. She's been a little up and down as of late, but we're going to throw her in here. I would say the first girl that should target is Jewel Lloyd. She's one of the top scorers on the Seattle team. The last time they played, she put up 30.8 fantasy points in 27 minutes, so she had a nice game against New York. I think she's still in a very good matchup here. So Jewel Lloyd, for me, would probably be someone I would consider as one of my core. And then we can throw in there maybe Tina Charles as the star player, as the main core for New York. And then, obviously, we can't go with what we have left. We have 6,300 per player. Obviously, we cannot go up to 12. So it's either something's got to give. You got to make a decision and go with Lloyd, or you're gonna go with Breanna Stewart. Right now, at least for the example purposes, if you like this lineup, it's entirely up to you. Remember, the key is also to mix and match, and I'm gonna show you that in a moment. So we go here. Let's go. Let's think here. Let's see if we could squeeze in Howard in here. No, as a matter of fact, I like Sue Bird. All right, I think those are 3 good ones, but you could go Howard. So let's just go Howard for now and see. We only got 4,700 left, so really it takes a lot of our money. Okay, so we're going to be really strapped. That means we're going to have to definitely get a budget player. I'm leaning towards Langhorne or maybe Miss Coleman. So let's just say we go with Langhorne. Let's go with Coleman. Okay, we still got 5,500. With 5,500, we could come up and get Kia Vaughn. So let's just throw that out there right now just to show you guys. All right, so we got Kia Vaughn. Coleman and Kia Vaughn, not bad. Marissa Coleman did not play in the first game, so she has an opportunity to get something done later on today. Kia Vaughn did play the first game. Let's see what I have for her. Vaughn put up 14.9, pretty much a 15 fantasy points, 15 spot in 21 minutes, so not too bad. Natasha Howard had 22 in 22 minutes, so 1 fantasy point per minute. Someone to consider. She definitely is capable of giving you 35, 40 easy. I think she's in a good matchup. Physically, speed-wise, I think Seattle's just too quick. With Lloyd, Natasha Howard in the front court with Breanna Stewart, they're both very long, very fast. These girls are not big, slow girls. They are very, very physically fit. New York is going to have a tough time with these girls for sure. But like I said, we got these 5 here. So you say to yourself, how about if you get those same 5 and I have this same 5? What's going to be the difference? The difference is, guys, if you've done this before, or at least you know, is that MVP star and pro spot. Okay, so the key thing here is, if we are going to be having the same lineup, for example, then if you happen to have Tina Charles in the MVP spot, and I have Jewel Lloyd over here, but we still have the same 5 girls, for example. All right, the beauty of this MVP and star and pro spot is the additional points you get. So with Charles being here and me having Lloyd over here, and you having Charles here, and she actually performs better than Jewel Lloyd, you're gonna actually have more fantasy points than me, and obviously you will cash a better line than I would. Okay, and that's the beauty of it with the MVP. It's about putting the players in the best possible spot. and hopefully just mixing that around. That's why I say even if we went with these 5 and you say, well, these are my 3 core, Howard, Charles, and Lloyd, then what you do, your next lineup, you move Lloyd here and you move Charles to MVP and leave Natasha here. If you feel Natasha is capable of having a big game, then you move her here. If you can make multiple lineups with these 3 girls, then you make sure you cover them in each one of these positions. That's for those who have enough in the bankroll that can do that. I mean, these are all, you know, $4.44 entry, so it can add up unless you have $30 or $40 to play. But if you're only going to do 2 or 3 lineups, then try to design maybe 2 of them differently as far as core, where they're positioned at, and then leave the other 2 the way they are, because it's not going to make a difference between the 2 utility players. It's the pro, the star, and an MVP. And like I said before, one of the key strategies is to lock in 3 solid players there, players that are important aspects to the offensive, to their team offensively. Okay, and that they could be pretty good defensive players. If they defend, they get rebounds, they go out there and they actually blocking shots and stealing balls, and they're doing all that dirty work. Yeah, you're going to gain a lot of fantasy points as well. So it's not necessarily just someone who can just score. All right, it got to be a combination of all that. But this is one way we can go about it. And at the same time, this is showing you also right here. If you look at this, we have 3 New York Liberty and 2 Seattle players here. So that's a 3-2 New York stack. So let's clear this up. Let's do another one. All right, real quickly. I want to make the video quick. Let's try MVP. Let's put here. We're gonna go again. Let's try to make a 4-1 stack, so we can use that strategy. 4-1 stack, and I'm gonna go again. Jewel Lloyd as the top MVP, and we'll take Tina Charles again. And then now we'll come down a little bit further. Let's try, and this is just to show you that you can squeeze in a 4-1 stack. You could do, let's try Sue Bird. That leaves us a 5,000. Let's take out Lloyd, Sue Bird, excuse me. Let's try Miss Clark. Okay, we're gonna try to do a 4-1 Seattle stack. Now we have 5,500. I don't like that. 5,500. We could go Langhorne as a budget play, at least a 7, and we cannot get anybody from Seattle to make a 4-1 stack. I'm trying to figure this out. Let's see. And again, I'm doing this right here. First look with you guys. The most important thing for me is to show you the different strategies. So 4-1, we definitely want a budget player. So it's going to be, let's go with Langhorne at 4,000, or Coleman. We can go Coleman, but I'm trying to get here 4. So let's not do Tina Charles. All right, let's say we go with Sue. Let's go Natasha Howard, and then Alicia Clark. Okay, now I think we could be able to get. We can go and get either Hartley, and then we still have 5,000, as you can see, and you go out there and you get Miss Langhorne or Marissa Coleman. But we want to do a Seattle stack, so just to show you. Okay, you see, this leaves $1,000 on the table, and we got here 4 Seattle players, 1 New York player. All right, and the advice I'll tell you is obviously that lineup right there is not the best, so don't go ahead and go and place that one. Definitely think it through and look over some statistics. Let's try a couple more, and then I'll wrap it up. It's just to give you an idea. Let's do a 4-1 stack New York. I think it's going to be even a little easier. We go Tina Charles, Brittany Boyd, and Bria Hartley. I think you're covering 3 solid plays there coming in. Boyd put up a 20, pretty much a 21 spot in 20 minutes. Tina Charles had the more rough time against Seattle the first time around, only putting 18.6 fantasy points in 32 minutes. Bria Hartley was pretty good at 18.6 fantasy points in 28 minutes. So I think right there, not too bad. And we'll get the 4th one. We can go with Sugar Rogers, and it still will leave us with 6,500. I think we can go a little lower than Sugar Rogers. I think we could go with Amanda Zooey B, and we can get somebody from Seattle pretty solid. Like, we don't have enough to get Bird. Let me see something. Let's see if we can get Bird. Amanda Zooey B. We could go Marissa Coleman and take a stab at her at 4,000, just so that we could squeeze in Sue Bird. Okay, and you can go there. There goes a 4-1 New York stack. If this game gets out of hand, or let's say even if it gets out of hand, Marissa Coleman's going to get more time, maybe even Hartley as well. Probably not as much time for Tina Charles or Brittany Boyd. If the game is close, there's a possibility all these girls are still involved, especially Hartley, Boyd, and Charles. And then, of course, Sue Bird will be on the court as well, so that will help. So, again, this is just to give you some ideas. You clear this up. Let's go with 3-2 stack of both teams. Let's try that. Let's try Stewart. Let's try Sue Bird. Let's get in here Tina Charles and at least 4,000. So we got 2 Seattle. Let's make it 3-2 Seattle. We will go with Langhorne, and then you still got 4,000, and 4,000 you can get from New York. You can get Marissa Coleman. And now there, again, this is just an example, just to give you an idea. There goes a 3-2 stack. Seattle, New York. We'll clear that up. We'll do another one. Let's do Tina Charles, Lloyd, Bird, and then Kia Nurse. Let's go Vaughn and Miss Amanda Zooey B. You use all your money there, and I think that's not even a bad lineup right there, guys. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that's a bad lineup right there, and I just threw that up there all crazy. 11. You got Tina Charles. If she happens to perform well, she can get you some double fantasy points. You got Jewel Lloyd and Sue Bird. Nice, good, strong backcourt, capable of hitting threes. Got good field goal percentage. Defend fairly well. Pretty quick up and down the floor. Then you got Vaughn and Amanda Zooey B. Both of them have been playing pretty well lately, especially Amanda. Not too bad. And Kia Vaughn, first time around, 14.5 fantasy points in 21 minutes. And Zooey B, she put up 19.8, pretty much a 20 spot in 18 minutes. So, you know, if you go with the matchup head-to-head, not too bad right there. So, again, guys, just give you a couple examples, show you what you use. So, remember, you don't have to use all your money. As you've seen, I made a couple of lineups here, leaving 1,000 on the table, 500 on the table. All right. Just remember, you can mix and match. Okay, there's nothing wrong. You definitely, most importantly, is be different. And the key difference is making sure that if you get your 3 core players, make sure that they are rotated a little bit here if you're able to play multiple lineups. And I recommend you do. I don't think you should try to just take a stab at one lineup. I think you should definitely do 3 or 4 at least. If you could afford to, $20, get 4 lineups in there, and then try to utilize at least one lineup against a team that is more than likely in a blowout situation. In this case, New York. Do not sleep. Remember, we've seen it with Indiana. We've seen it with a couple of the teams that are in the bottom of the barrel. New York has given some teams a couple of rough games, and they've beaten a few teams when you thought that they wouldn't be able to beat them. So I would not be surprised at all whatsoever if New York make this into a game. I doubt it, but I've seen it all happen. You guys have seen it all happen. We've seen it all during the course of this WNBA season. So do not be surprised, all right? Make sure you protect yourself. Do your 3-2-4-1 stack for Seattle, and then definitely make your lineups, reversing it and getting at least 1 or 2 lineups in there with some 3-2 or 4-1 stacks for New York. All right, guys? That's pretty much it, man. Good luck on the slate. Drop a like on the video if you like it. Definitely, if you have not subscribed, first time here, please do subscribe. I do plan to continue doing WNBA throughout the rest of the season, playoffs, and then we're going to jump right into the NFL, which I'm looking so forward to, and the NBA in October. So a busy year here at DFS Zone. If you have not gone to our Facebook group, definitely go to Facebook, go to DFS Zone. You will make a request to join, and I will definitely get that notice right away. I will definitely unlock you and get you in there and become a member. I want to keep building the community. I want to be able to interact with you guys as much as possible. I will be back Tuesday with another video. We got a 4-game slate Tuesday, and on top of that, there will be a live show 1 hour before lock. We'll do that again like the way we have been doing it, 40 to 45 minutes chit-chatting. You're going to get game stacks, team stacks, best possible plays, any value plays, everything that I can possibly find or be able to give you guys, I will be able to give that to you. And as well as always, also I will try to answer every one of your guys' questions that have come out. I really appreciate the support. And basically that's it, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Good luck tomorrow on the slate if you're playing it. And again, drop a like, subscribe, and I see you guys on Tuesday.